and do an intro for the video, and then we'll spin around to the mirror, and then we'll just go from there, really. I'm going to clap, by the way, just so you know. Just puts a spike in the audio.
Right.
Welcome to The Life of Hair. My name's James Atkinson. Thank you for choosing to join into this episode. Now, in this episode, we've got lovely Rachel. Now, a long time ago, me and Rachel used to work together at North Lane, the old salon I used to work in. It's been a long time since I've seen Rachel, and lots has changed since then, but she's coming to be a model today, so a big thank you to Rachel for giving me her hair to do a video with. Now, in this particular video, we haven't had any prior discussion as to what we're going to do, so the consultation you'll see will be a completely organic consultation. Not often do I do that. Sometimes I have little prior words. We tried to do that, but we didn't get anywhere. So we're going to find out just straight off the bat what the real style of consultation is that I do on a client on a day-to-day basis. So if you enjoy this type of episode, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and down in the description is the sponsor of this video, The Life of Hair Digital Academy. If you want to support the channel or get further education in the Life of Hair Academy platform, then please join down below. If you have got any further questions that you'd like to know about the Academy, then please reach out to me on Instagram or send me an email directly. Tell me about, we're going to talk about your colour first. Yeah. So, pretty blonde?
Yeah, I mean, what I've been having for the last kind of few times was a full head of highlights, kind of back to back.
Yep.
I'm not too bothered about what you'd want to do.
Yeah.
I imagine a full head of highlights would be too much for like a day, and so I'm not, whatever.
Yeah, I would do a full head of highlights. So, do you like that back to back blonde look? Is that something you enjoy?
Well, I did. However, as you know, which is probably a bit about the cut as well, I've had really short hair for ages.
Yeah.
COVID meant I couldn't get it cut.
Yeah.
So it's a novelty having longer hair.
Yeah.
However, because of the texture, the bleach, this is why I kind of want to get it a bit shorter as well.
Yeah.
So back to back, maybe not so much, because
it's killing it.
I just end up with, I mean, it's what it does anyway.
Yeah. It's snapping off a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of breakage around the front there. So the back to back's probably not good for the condition of the hair.
No,
really,
it's been nice to have it, but
yes,
now I've had it a few times, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's starting
my kind of hair.
Yeah, it's starting to do it in. It's quite fine, isn't it? So probably something to think about is obviously hair texture, hair density, maintenance, all those things. So how often do you think you'd want to commit to getting your hair done, just generally?
Well, I've been having this done every 10 weeks, because I don't mind, like now,
you don't mind a bit of regrowth.
Now, I don't mind a bit of regrowth.
Yeah.
Because it still looks quite blended. It's
it does
well.
actually, yeah. For a back-to-back highlight, it has blended out quite well. Okay, cool. So we're looking at a 10-week regrowth, and you don't mind it having a bit of roots in general?
No.
Okay, cool. But ultimately want to sort of stick with the blonde, but would prefer it if it was a little softer. Yeah, cool. So probably what we're going to do then is we'll put in some highlights, and then because it's got quite a long regrowth, but the regrowth isn't to the parietal ridge, what we're going to do is a horseshoe technique, if you like, that starts at the front of the ear here, and then we'll run up towards the crown area, and we will put in baby fine, ultra fine highlights. But we'll get plenty of them in there, and that will create enough diffusion to make sure that we break up that line. The alternative is to pop in some highlights and then do a root drag down towards the parietal ridge, but then there's going to be a root drag in her hair, and then she might want to go back to the back, so we don't want to commit to that right now. So I think you've got to go, if there's any kind of demarcation in the hair like that, and you're going to fill in, but you're not going to put as much colour in as there was there previously, you've got to make sure that you're putting ultra fine, paper fine sections into the hair. And that will help to diffuse, and it will give Rachel a little bit more of a friendlier colour on her hair, because as you can see through here, it's looking quite soft. It's the same story on this side. It's quite soft through that front hairline, so it's clearly quite weak just in front of the ear and in the temple area. So we really want to think about that. Obviously, lifestyle's an issue with everybody's hair. So Rachel's got a little boy, and obviously being a mum and everything, you do a lot of bunging your hair up, because it's just the way life is. If you haven't got children and you're going into that phase of your life, then you've got lots to learn. But if you have got children, you know exactly what Rachel will be doing with their hair on a day-to-day basis. And you know, when you're a mum, we do need to think about those things, and unless they want high maintenance and they're kind of prepared for high maintenance, they're going to come back really regularly. Right, okay, so pre-section for this highlighting scenario is rectangle section along through here that comes, and then we've got the crown area here. Turn around. There's the crown area, just like that. And then exactly the same on this opposite side, rectangle section, rectangle section, rectangle section through the top. So what we're going to do, we're going to start in the front hairline and we're going to work diagonally backwards on both sides, and then we're going to jump into the top and we're going to do what I like to call herringbone highlight. So the trick to this, I was just saying, like ultra fine, is making your sections ultra fine. Now you see this hair through here, it's very, very weak and damaged, so I'm not going to highlight that section, okay? But I'm going to take a section behind it and see what that looks like. That's a little better. So we're just going to jump back from the hairline, because we will continue to break this hair if we're not careful. And then you can see how fine that section is through there. And we're going to just slice these sections just because we want maximum coverage, but we want them to be micro fine. I'm using Charcoalite bleach, by the way, for anybody that's interested and wondering about the colour of it. So it lifts and tones simultaneously. I've been compiling a review of all of the most highly rated bleaches on the internet. Charcoalite, one of them. So just again, making sure that they're super fine, but we don't want them too close together. So we've got about a finger's width, roughly, in between each of the foils. If we put them too close together, we'll be packing them in to the point where we'll look like we've created like a second root. Whereas what we want to do is just create some blending from the root area into the existing colour. So keeping the foil section angle at about 45 degrees roughly. And we're working diagonally backwards. I always work diagonally backwards with this particular technique. Diagonally forwards, a bit random. You can do it, I have done it, but it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't help the technique to look any softer, and it makes it much harder to do, so I don't recommend you try that one. So we're going to work our way back to just past the ear basically. So I'll join you when I come around the other side. So we've done both sides basically. If you just turn your head for me, Rachel, that's it. So we've got the foils in this side, we've got the foils in this side. I'm going to work diagonally backwards across the centre back of the head now. And the reason I'm going to work diagonally backwards over the centre back is that I just find it easier as a right-hander to work diagonally backs on the right-hand side. So that is the main reason for coming back to this side to work across the centre back. If you're left-handed, you might find it easier. You may not be that fussed about working diagonally backwards on the left-hand side as a right-hander. So again, this is very much kind of personal taste, and you do what feels comfortable. There is no right or wrong here. We are just working on a diagonal through this area, because let's say the wind blows on the back of Rachel's head, for example, and the hair splits at that point. It won't look quite as harsh as if we do horizontal sections straight up. So we're just going to continue through to the other side. Nothing's really going to change, so I'll join you when I get to the top. We are on to the top, and as you can see, the quadrant on this side is all herringbone or diagonal backward sections. We're leaving out that very, very front hairline because it's pretty damaged, and we're going to have a side fringe anyway, so we're going to be a little bit more covered in that sense. And the section width, the depth of the section is like 2 hairs across. It is so super fine, and that is really important to remember, that you know, these sections are mega fine. So the next section on the front hairline is just about half a finger's width away from the section in front of it. Just going to keep them a little bit tighter around the face, just so it's a little bit blonder around that face. But the width of the sections again are like absolutely paper thin. I can literally count like 2 to 3 hairs in the depth of the section. And I particularly like slices on shorter hair textures and haircut. And then the way that I apply my foils, if you haven't seen it before, I have done videos on it, but we'll talk about it quickly. I go in, secure my foil with the product. So at this point, you know, we can let go, because a lot of people say their foils slip. And then I just paint gently up towards the root area. And I'm really controlling the amount of lightener that ends up near the lip of the foil. I don't want tons, but I do want it to be covered, and I do paint all the way up to the lip of the foil. Okay, I then take my section, fold it by 1/3, so this is now stuck to the product, and I fold it by 1/3 again, so that we're sticking this to that product that's right at the root area. And because of the nature of a slice of hair, these are super fine, so it doesn't make so much difference, but if they get a bit thicker, what can happen is that there's a gap between the back of the foil. Let me just try and show you. There's a gap between the back of the foil here and the top of the section that you've just weaved. So there's a disparity between the two. So we're going to push that down, secure the back, and then fold in the edges like so. Okay? That means that when we look at this section, the back of the foil is absolutely bang on the scalp, and the top of the foil is in exactly the same place. And that reduces the likelihood of bleeding, it reduces the likelihood of it being too far off the scalp and it feeling like you've put some foils in but you've still got a root regrowth. And then we're going to go slightly bigger with our sections, probably like 2/3 of a finger's width, and again slicing off the top of that section, just like so. And then going in with our foil and just repeating the process throughout really. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these next few in, and then I'm going to join you on the crown area where it starts to pivot, and I'll talk to you about pivoting and not pivoting and all of those different things that can be a little challenging if you've never done this type of technique before. So I'll join you in a minute. So we've gone diagonally backwards, like so, okay, and then we're going to get to a point of which if we remain diagonal, because the head starts to curve that way, we will naturally start to pivot till we're in a vertical section at the centre back. We can force the angle if we want, so we ended up in a little triangle shape just here, but if we just organically move with the head shape, we'll end up with what we got here, which is a vertical section straight down the back. I prefer that vertical section straight down the back because, again, if the wind blows and it hits the back of someone's head, it doesn't look as strong as maybe a diagonal or a horizontal. So it's just something to bear in mind. But yeah, ultimately that is something that you just kind of need to think about when you are working with these kind of shapes. I'm just going to naturally follow the head shape round, which I will now show you what happens when you naturally follow the head shape round. Because we've obviously got a horizontal one just there, we do need to think about that and how we space those sections out. We don't want two foils that are absolutely next to each other because we'll make one gigantic stripe in the middle at the back. So when we take the next section, not this one, when we take the next section, we need to just have a little minute to work out exactly how that's going to play out. Let's take this next section and then we can see that our next one's going to be about there and it's all going to be fine. Like so. And then final one just like that. And then if we just take your head over for me, you can see how that one's got a gap between that one, and there's a space between this one and this one. They're always going to be reasonably close together at the top of a triangle like that where you're pivoting, but providing your sections are super fine. And as you can see, there is a gap between that point and that point and that point and that point. Everything will be fine. They won't converge into one big point at the top of the section. So here we have the finished result. I hope you like it. It's had a really big impact and obviously the haircut helps. I did the haircut video a few weeks ago, so if you want to see how we transformed Rachel's hair from her kind of long grown out bob shape into this very, very soft pixie style, then I will link it right at the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and as always, if you're new here and you've enjoyed this content, then subscribe. I have loads and loads of other videos for you to check out, and if you've enjoyed it and you've already subscribed, then do me the massive favour of hitting that thumbs up button. It really, really helps the videos get out there. And I will see you again next Sunday for another episode of The Life of Hair.